Right guys, let's have a look at page 10 now then. We're on question 7, part A. It says Ruth and Tony share £1,491. Yeah, £1,491, best way to say that. In the ratio of 2 shares to 5 shares. Yeah, Ruth gets 2 shares, Tony gets 5 shares. Calculate how much they each receive. Well, if they're going to share in a ratio of 2 to 5, Ruth gets 2 shares and Tony gets 5 shares. In all, there's going to be 7 shares, aren't there? Are we all happy with that? So there's 7 shares. So this gets divided into 7. 1 share will be this over 7, won't it? So 1 share, if you're thinking about that, is equal to 1491 over 7. Because there were 7 shares in total and they had to share out 1491. So type that in the calculator then to get 1 share. So 1491 divided by 7, because there's 7 shares of that much money, you get £213. Okay, so it's £213. So now Ruth gets 2 of these and Tony gets 5 of them. So Ruth gets 2 shares, 2 lots of a share, 213. Tony gets, now he gets 5 shares, doesn't he? So it's 5 lots of the share, which each share is going to be 213. So let's type them in a calculator then. So 2 shares would be 2 times a share, 426. And Tony gets 5 shares, so you get 5 lots of 213 is 1065. There we go. So Ruth gets 426 quid and Tony gets 1065. And as a little check, just a quick check while we're doing, rather than thoroughly check it at the end, let's just do 426. That's the 2 shares plus the 5 shares, which is 1065. And that should add up to the 7 shares of 14. Yeah, it's fine. Okay then, so that looks okay. Good. So let's go on to the next part. Now we've got compound interest here. Bit of a pain, isn't it? Find the compound interest to the nearest penny, so we've got to be quite accurate, when £6,000 is invested for 3 years at 4% per annum. So 4%, so, well, you start off with £6,000, and at the end of the first year, you get your original amount, which is 100%, and then 4% more. So that totals up to 104%. Now 104%, right, as a fraction, because I'm going to do £6,000 and I want to write, rather than write 104% here, I want to put it as a fraction. It's 104 over 100, isn't it? So that's what you get at the first year, after 1 year. Okay, so you could tap that in the calculator. For the second year, if you wanted to, all you have to do is take your original amount you had after the first year, don't you? And it was that much now, isn't it? You've got that much. And basically, times that. And then you just times the whole thing, so it's just times another 4% of this amount. And it's times so you can just write it like this, can't you? You don't need a bracket, because it's just this times that will be the same thing anyway. Even if you put a bracket around there, say, don't really need to. Okay? So can you see what I'm going to do next for the third year? What we're going to do, let's just move down the page slightly, give us a bit more room. We're going to have this much. So this was just 6,000. I'm explaining it as I go, really. And this was 104 over 100 squared. Right, so that for 3 years then, we'll have 6,000. And it'll be just times another 104 over 100. So it'll be 104 over 100 cubed, won't it? Agreed? So let's just do the calculation then. So it's £6,000 times, now I'll put a bracket and I want 104. Well, I'm going to write it as a fraction because it looks better, easier on the eye. 104, yeah, over 100. Okay, that's good. And then let's go back to ground level, put a bracket, and it's that 6,000 times that cubed, wasn't it? So let's do a cube. Let's press equals. So it's £6,749, and to the nearest penny would be to 2dp. That's a 4, so it rounds down. So the 8 stays as it is. 6,749 and 18p. 6,749 pounds and 18 pence. There we are. That's what we think it is. So that's the total amount that you get if you've invested £6,000. But the point is, find the compound interest. So you've always got to double check you've read the question correctly. So that's not the interest, is it? That's how much £6,000 accrues to after 3 years. So the interest will be the difference between what you've now got in the bank and what you had to begin with, the 6,000. So interest, let's write it like that, equals, let's just put an equal symbol there, it's easier to do that. 6,749 pounds and 18 pence minus 6,000. Yeah, and you just get the difference. 749 pounds and 18p. That's him. That's part B done then. Okay, good. And that completes page 10. So that's good. So let's go on to the next page. Great.